I work with a lot of schools, a lot of trades. You guys have my respect. You have a tough job. I couldn't do it. I'd probably end up in jail if I had to be a teacher. I have a son and a daughter-in-law who are teachers, and I respect them highly for it. But you guys have a tough job. What I want to talk about is bridging the gap. And what we're talking about is a skills gap. You can read mounds of information on that, but what a simple definition is, it's the difference between the skills an employer requires and the skills that the employee applying for the job has. And what we're seeing is high unemployment doesn't necessarily reduce that gap. It doesn't mean there's more opportunity for people there, so there's less of a skills gap out there. In fact, there are roughly about 5% or 600,000 jobs that go unfilled because a prospective employer can't find employees that have the skills to meet those needs. The highest toll is on skilled production jobs. It is only expected to increase as time passes. We heard the demand for welders, where welders are at, what's going on with the demand in our industry. It's hardest hit with retirements. As people get older and retire, they don't have people coming in behind them. And it's also the hardest part of the job market to be able to fill in those areas. So if you look at it, the hardest areas are shortages of machinists, operators, technicians, welders. These jobs have an impact on everything else an industry does. Without having those functions in their place, they don't have the opportunity to go out and hire other people. I don't need cost accounting if I can't produce something and have to do the accounting on it. Don't need production planning if I can't get it through production. Same thing with quality assurance, purchasing, sales, marketing, customer service. If I can have my skilled workforce in place and have a skilled workforce, it gives me the opportunity to expand. It's also an area that impacts a company's ability to grow, improve their productivity, and drive innovation. This was a couple of years ago, and it stuck with me. It was working with a manufacturer, and basically what he told me is only about 15% of my total operation involves welding. But none of my products leave the factory that aren't welded. So without welders, I don't have any products to ship. It's that critical to my operation. If you look at a typical organizational structure, you've got skilled labor, you got supervision, you got management. In the skilled labor side of it, you're looking at employees that are able and willing to advance. This out of a USA Today recent poll, or recent report was, the area where the two-year technical degrees, the job opportunities for two-year technical degrees are now outpassing the job opportunities for four-year degrees. So you're seeing that ratio change. It's a lot more manufacturing, a lot more industry looking for the two-year technical jobs to be able to come in and fill their positions. What they're looking at is employability skills, and we all talk about this. You guys deal with it every day as far as teachers. They want basic academic skills, the ability to read, write, science. This one surprises me, math. Math, as I talk to schools, is one of the hardest subjects to get students to be able to graduate because they can't pass the math skills or the math requirements. A lot of industries are looking for people that have good, just fundamental skills. They need shop math. They need to be able to read measurements. They need to be able to convert inches to metric. They need good shop math skills. They need oral communication, listening. They want the ability for the employee to learn. They want employees who are ready and willing to learn, the ability to think and make sound decisions on what they're doing. Personal skills, I hear this more than often than not, are extremely important. I had a presentation I was at, it was a computer software outfit, and everybody got up and talked about the need for technical, and he came up and said, I can teach technical. When you come to work for me, I can teach you the technical side of it. What I can't do is I can't teach the soft skills. Those have to be there. I need to have applicants come into me that have honesty, confidence, self-control, self-motivation. They have social skills. In other words, what he's saying is, can they play in the sandbox of the industry without throwing sand on everybody else? Can they get along with their employees? They need to have integrity, punctuality, and very good work ethics. They need to be able to apply what they know to solve problems. I need people that can solve problems. And probably the one that surprised me the most is I need people that have the ability to start with very minimal training. What I'm seeing now as industry comes back after being down, they're not having fat in employees, not having a lot of people there. They need to hire people quick, put them in the job, get them working quickly, to be able to recover and start shipping out finished goods. So they want people that can come in and be able to start up with very, very little training. I'm going to take you to a community college that I work with. This is real life. They work with 4 major industries in their area. They have a company that does nuclear containment vessels, a structural steel erection company. They have motorcycles, happens to be Harley Davidson, and they have hydroturbine electric division. The nuclear guy requires NDE. All his work's inspected. It's done to ASME code work. He's using alloyed steels. He's using multiple processes in that. He'll use stick electrodes. He'll use flux core wires. He'll use sub-arc. The structural steel erector has his own apprenticeship program, but what he wants is people to come into that apprenticeship program that have good fundamental basics knowledge. They do structural, they have their own structural fab shop, but they also do field erection, mostly stick electrodes and self-shielded flux core wire. The motorcycle guy is mostly MIG wires, all robotic. He's looking for guys that not only can push a button and run a robot, but know how to troubleshoot them. He's looking for robotic technicians, the guys that can set the robots up, program the robots, and do the work for it. And then the hydroturbine guy is very heavy weldments. It's mostly flux core wire, it's sub-arc wire, it's carbon steel, but a lot of stainless steel. So when I look at the community college and saying he's trying to service the need on a 2-year program to service these industries, it's pretty dizzying to me to say, how can I have students come out and be ready to walk into a job skill in 2 years of community college work to service the industry? So I think the deal is when you got a wide range of industries, a wide diversity of requirements that are asking for you to be able to supply students come into the workforce ready to go walk on the job day one and start welding with very little training, it's a hard thing to do. What I've done is put together a compilation of a lot of things I've discussed in either advisory meetings, business education roundtables, workforce development committees on things that we can do. One is like survey the industry around you. You know, one of the things we did in this advisory council was survey the industries that this community college was servicing to find out what their positions are. Do you have a welder 1, welder 2, welder 3? What are the differences in the expectations between them? What's the differences in pay? What do you expect out of those welders when he comes in and he certifies for a welder 1, 2, or 3? Do you have a qualification test? And can I help you from the classroom side to get the student prepared to be able to pass your qualification test? Is there things I can do that makes that qualification when he comes in for the job application easier on the student? Are there gaps in my curriculum? And I know you guys are all geared to curriculum where you have to have a certain basic curriculum. It has to meet certain requirements for your accreditation. But are there gaps in it? Do you need to add courses? Are there areas where you have the opportunity to slide extra parts, extra information into certain courses? Like, does your industry around you work with code work? Do you need to go over and review D1.1? Do you need to review D1.5? In the case of this college where he has a guy doing nuclear, do you have to go over and review ASME so that they understand what the requirements of ASME is? Can there be application or contextualized instruction? What that says is, if I'm a welder and I'm learning how to weld, can I understand how I apply that welding when I get in on the job? What do things like heat do from the standpoint of warpage? What is it from the standpoint of how I weld to make sure that my weld is going in right? Are there actual applications that I can work into my curriculum to help the students better understand actual applications so it's not all classroom, theory, hands-on, but they get some application work with it? Be able to help expedite students' connections to the job market. If you know your industry, if you survey the industry that are out there, what can they do? I mean, is there ways you can have student mentors? Are there internships that they can work with where they can go out and work with some of the industry, maybe the supervisors or lead welders? Is there ability to shadow the other company, to go out and shadow the welder so they have a better understanding of what that welder goes through in the day and what the requirements are? Are there opportunities for summer employment so the students can get some summer employment and some experience on the job training? Offer credit for workforce development, evening adult education, courses for job advancement. What that's saying is once I get the 2-year program going, I got a student that is very good. He's meeting the employer's requirements. He's got the ability to move up, but can I offer courses that support that industry from standpoint of maybe management, of maybe supervisory skills, or skills that will help him advance in his job? Is there an articulation program with a 4-year college? So I got a guy that graduated, he's a 2-year student, he's in industry now, he's doing very well. After he's out, he's working for a while, and he says, you know, I really want to get my 4-year degree. Is there a way he can transfer his credits to a 4-year program from your school to a 4-year program that he doesn't have to start from the beginning? And some of the things is, can he do that while he's working on the job, or does he have to take another 2 years off to get that? This is a big one for me. I think it's very important. It's the strategic partnerships with the industry. It's understanding who they are, working with them, including in-kind support. How many guys have budget problems? Everybody. One of the things in a lot of industries that I've worked with said, we will supply the products. If you need to be welding stainless, because I weld stainless steel, I can supply you stainless steel so your students can weld on stainless steel, so it's not a significant cost for the school. Most of them will give you dumpster diving license. If I get steel scrap, you can use it in your school, you're more than welcome to have it. So in-kind support, other things like I have welding machines, I've updated my welding machines, I can slide the old ones into you and you can use those in your program. Is there ability to do teacher training by tradesmen and professionals? So one of the things is it's getting the student exposed, but what can we do for helping getting the teacher exposed so they understand what that welding supervisor is looking for, what his criteria is, and understand where it is. Are there work study programs? Can you do industry tours? First time I went to work, I was never in an industry in my life until I walked in the door the first day, and it was Black & Decker a long time ago. But it was pretty awesome and staggering to me to walk in this huge plant of 3,500 people and say, this is where we're going to work, and this is what working is all about after high school. So is there ability to get your students into tours for the industry so they can understand what the shop floor is? Does the industry have the guest speakers that can come in and address your classroom and help your students understand what the industry is, what it's all about, what they're looking for in employment? One of the things I work with a school, they actually do mock interviews where they'll have the industry come in and go through mock interviews with the students to help the students through the interviewing process so they're more comfortable. They have an idea of what's being asked, how to answer questions, how to present themselves. A lot of things you can work with the industry. Good resources, your graduates. Talk to your graduates. Did the educational experience they got in the school help them in the job market? Were your graduates better or worse prepared than other educational facilities if students are working in there? Was it making it easier or harder for them to get employment because they had the credentials or the degree from your school? How did it help them find employment? And most importantly is, what do they see that they have now that they're in the real life world of working that can help the school do better? What are their recommendations from the standpoint of helping the school out? A lot of the advisory councils I work with will have an actual student graduate, 2 or 3 of them on their advisory council to just help with that aspect of what did you see when you left that you didn't get when you were here, and what did you get while you were doing our classes that really helped you? I am politically correct here. Even though I'm from ESAB, I alphabetized this, so don't chastise me for putting ESAB first, please. But solicit your welding manufacturers, guys. They're good opportunities. ESAB, Hobart, Hypertherm, Lincoln, Miller all offer educational support. As far as I know, they all have educational materials on their webpage. Most of these materials are free or very low cost if there is any. They all offer educational discounts, so when you're looking at buying equipment, whether it's gas apparatus, it's arc equipment, or it's fill metals, there are educational discounts available that help that budget. They need to be part of your advisory council, and I say that because most manufacturing reps are going to be in your area hitting all the industries that you're servicing for your graduates, your students. So if you have them on part of your advisory council, they understand what the need is, what the industries are looking at. Use them as a guest lecturer. I like to say use and abuse your factory reps because they're there. But they have a great opportunity to come in and address classes, tell students what's going on in the industry. They have a great opportunity to bring new technology in and demonstrate it. Most of them are going to bring a new piece of equipment in and explain what the new technology is, what the student may be looking at in the future when he goes into the field. The biggest thing, I think, is the ability of that factory rep to be able to work as a student liaison with industry. He's going to know what industry is needing welders. He's going to know what the requirements are. He's going to know and understand your school and the capabilities of your school putting it out. And he can tie the two together, steer the industry to your schools, and help steer your students towards the industry. AWS is remarkable. There are a lot of AWS tools out there. I would highly recommend, if you aren't, use them. There's a lot of educational materials AWS has. You have the AWS educational seminars. I spoke to a gentleman this morning who was in our educators training in Florida this summer. Spoke very, very highly of it, how intense it was and how much he gained from being there. Look at the Certified Welding Educator program. What that does is it adds a lot of credibility to your school that they have a certified welding educator that is the instructor. Look at the AWS welder certification. Now I know I can't give you a card that says I'm an AWS certified welder for stick electrode and flat fillets and walk into a plant and be expected to be accepted day one welding their welding procedures. I'm still going to have to qualify for their welding procedures. What it does, though, is it demonstrates the fundamental knowledge and the skills of the process that I do understand how to weld it. I was able to pass the AWS welder certification for that application, that process, and I can demonstrate that. SENSE is schools excelling through national skills standard in education. What SENSE does for you, and I just learned there are over 3,000 schools that are already signed up and using SENSE. This is kind of like I'm being a straight man because I think they're going to come in and talk right after I'm on about the SENSE program. But it does demonstrate proficiency in the student because you have level 1, level 2 welder for the SENSE program. It really adds some benefits to the student and the employer. The student is able to have a certificate or a diploma from a SENSE accredited program, provides graduates with important credentials of employment. It is another credential documentation validation of my skills when I look at what's required to meet SENSE level 1, level 2, and the fact that you have made SENSE level 1 and level 2. It's also an assurance that the student can be assured that he's got the best training and he's been trained from a program that is nationally recognized standards and guidelines that was developed in the industry. This is really industry saying, this is what we need and what we expect from our welders. There's benefits to the employers. A lot of benefits from the employers is he knows the graduates possess the skills that they need. It shortens his time to train. It makes that employee more valuable from day one because I have less training time on them. I can put them on the floor from day one, and they are very highly productive. So, is there a skills gap? I think there is. Can we change it? For sure we can. This is an awesome industry. This industry has won World War II for us. I'm a historian. If you look back and look at World War II, one of the greatest things that happened for us is our ability to weld and the part that welding played into World War II to help us win. Anywhere from the Liberty ships to the Bradley tanks to field services where they were modifying the tanks in the field to meet the requirements. So we can do it. We've got the knowledge to it. You know, you've got some things like identifying the gaps between what you have in your curriculum and what industry needs. You got welding manufacturers that are out there providing information to you. You've got the AWS tools, which is a nice package of tools. So ultimately our goal here is to make sure that we've got students that can walk out the door and fill the job. And I think if we look at this from the standpoint of my job is to teach and to make students be able to weld, but my job is really to expand beyond that to be able to teach and work with industry so that that job placement score goes higher and higher. So I think I just timed that perfect.